Welcome to the Femininja Project. I am your host, Cheryl I Love, middle-aged ninja hiding in plain sight, dedicated to restoring human dignity one person at a time and helping you unleash your personal power. Discover that it's possible to look like a woman, act like a lady, move like a ninja, and think like a warrior. And remember, men are always welcome on the Femininja Project. Welcome to another episode of the Femininja Project, and thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. We have a fascinating guest for you today. Her name is Colleen Wietmarschen. She is an entrepreneur, co-founder, and co-business owner of Your Literary Prose. She, along with her son Peter, provide the most relevant and up-to-date resources and support for business owners, professionals, speakers, and coaches to help them share their story with a book. However, Colleen's personal triumphs make her even more interesting and fun to talk to. She went from being an introverted child, which is something that's really hard to believe, and you'll understand what I mean in a few minutes, to a successful businesswoman, to triathlete at the tender young age of 50, violin student at the age of 54, and competing in a 300-mile bike challenge in 30 days. Wow. Colleen, you're just amazing. Thank you so much for being here and welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Cheryl.
You are so much fun to talk to. And I finally figured out how we were connected because I forgot how I met you. I think it was probably 2 or 3 years ago. And we had a little bit of a conversation via email, and then we kind of dropped off the radar for a while. But it was through Nicole Jansen of the Leaders of Transformation. So tell us, Colleen, your story, because I think the reason why Nicole hooked us together was because of your interest in health and exercise and fitness.
Oh, gosh, I really was an introverted child. I was very quiet. I was bullied in grade school, and so that made me introverted, I believe. But then I got to high school, and I partook in every sport you could imagine. I like to be active. And then as I grew up, I started doing walk races. Being active has always been important to me to try and stay healthy, keep weight under control or lose weight. And then I just kept doing that. And so after my son was born, it was kind of funny. Now you talk about that. My son was born, and I was like, he was born in December, but when spring came, I put him in the stroller at 3-4 months, because I'm like, he's going to be in the stroller walking with me and not be one of these kids who get out and I want to go, let me help him out. So I've always been active that way, but taking challenges, gosh, I started my business 25 years ago. So that was a challenge to do. And when I talk about the triathlete, I was turning 50. And I thought that would be fun to do because I've always loved swimming. I could never breathe properly when I swam, but it was swimming, it was bike riding, and it was walking. And so the funny part is we started training in March of that year, and it wasn't until July. So we started riding the bikes in March and doing hills and everything. And the funny part about that was when the triathlon came that day, there was a small tornado in the town the night before in the area that we were doing the triathlon. And so they had to change the route of the bike ride. They had to change the route. So it was a lot more hills and stuff. But the funny thing is, and it was 98 degrees at like 7:00 in the morning. It was, so the swimming was first and then the bike ride. But my friend and I had said, we're going to ease through this bike part because we've been biking since March. It's not going to be hard. Well, they had changed the route. It was hot. It was humid up hills. And I thought I was going to pass out. I mean, it was like, are you kidding me? Oh my God. But we made it through. We weren't first. We weren't last. But we had a good time doing that training together. Then just the 300-mile bike challenge. I don't want me to talk about that. I've always been interested in doing, just like I said, staying active, doing things. And for a couple of years, this up on Facebook, my Facebook feed, this challenge for raising money for childhood cancer came up. Okay. And I had wanted to do it, but things, life happens, whatever. So in 2018 or 2018, it came up and I said, oh, you know what? I'm going to do that this year. And it was in June. And so I didn't know when you signed up, you had to say how many miles you wanted to do. So I said, oh, I can do 300 miles in June. That's, 10 miles a day. Or if I can't do 10 miles a day, I can, do 20 or 40 on the weekend, blah, whatever. So in my brain, I was like, I can get 300 miles done. Well, anything that could really probably go wrong pretty much went wrong that year or that month. I hadn't been able to ride during the week a lot because of work or whatever. And I'd get it in on the weekends. And then, if it rained, I didn't really want to go to the gym and work out, but I would if I had to. And so then towards the end of the challenge, like the last 2 weeks, I was still about 150 or so miles out of what I needed to do. And my sister needed help up in West Virginia. So I went up there for the week and I put the bike on the back of my car and went up, and I didn't get to really ride that week because she was trying to lose weight. And so I was exercising with her doing hills and stuff. And I kind of put the bike thing on the side. So that made me a little bit behind on my bike, on what I wanted to do. So I was coming home by myself. It's about a 5.5 hour drive, put the bike on the back of my car, and I wasn't very far away, but not close enough to call them to come and help me. The bike, I noticed the bike was shaking on the back of the car. And so I took this turn into an exit ramp. Well, of course, I take the exit ramp that is the most deserted place in the world you could imagine. I had my dog with me. It's like 100 degrees. And the bike fell off the back of my car. And I was just like, really, are you kidding me? I mean, I just wanted to cry. But so I finally, and this is before I had my shoulder surgery. And so I was lifting the bike up and trying to get it on the car because I wasn't real familiar with how to do that. And so that was, just another like kind of thing. What's going to happen next? Okay. So anyway, I got home, and one thing about that, when you do a challenge like that, it's nice to have support. And I had a group I was in on Facebook on healthy living, and I had a lot of friends in there that were supporting me along the way and saying, you can do it, you can do it. And so I got home, and I really had pretty much mileage to do the last week. So I just busted myself, and I was out every morning going 12 or 15 miles. I'd go to the gym. I remember one day I went to the gym because it was so hot, and I thought I need to be cooler. So I went to the gym, called up one of my friends, and I was just talking to her. I was riding. So I'm like, I just want to talk to somebody so I can get this done. But I finished it. But, the whole time you're doing that and you're thinking you're hot or something's going on, you're like, but it's nothing like the kids who are going to cancer. And cancer's a big thing in my heart. I don't know if you've ever heard of Relay for Life or not.
I have heard of it.
Yeah. Well, I chaired the event for years and chaired committees because my mom's a 2-time breast cancer survivor and my dad died of prostate cancer. So that is why that's a big charity to my heart or whatever. So anyway, I did finish it, but it was kind of funny, the whole thing. And I would do it again.
Oh God.
But it just was a great time to just do that and figure out.
So you would do it again, but this time you would do it a little bit differently, knowing now what you know, as opposed to what you knew then.
Oh yeah. In fact, I did do it the next year, and I went down I did keep the same mileage, but I was able to do it in a more planned out way. Like I knew that every day I was going to ride this amount, or if it rained, I'd go to the gym. So it wasn't as stressful, if you will. But the funny thing when you signed up is they're like, how many miles do you want to do? And I was like, oh my God, I don't know how many miles I want to do.
So how did you pick 300 miles? Because to me, that would be like, I'll maybe do 20, or here, I will pay you the money for me not to do the miles. I just do not like riding a bike. I mean, I I didn't even learn how to ride a bike until I was 14. To me, it's not fun.
My friend taught me at her house when I was in second grade. I remember it. And we went down this little hill by her house and I was in heaven. And I have loved riding bikes ever since. But what was your question again? I'm sorry.
How did you pick the number 300
Oh, the
miles?
number.
Yeah.
I just said, 10 miles a day. That won't be anything. Literally, that's what I said in my brain. 10 miles a day. That won't be anything. And so
I'm just really curious, when they asked you how many miles and you said 300, did they seem surprised?
No, it was an online sign up.
Oh,
and
okay.
there are people in the group who do like 1,000.
Oh,
like they must just do that all the time. I don't do that all the time. I don't ride all the time, but I just made it an event for that month, but I do like riding. That's the only way I'll get my husband to exercise with me. He does not like walking. He doesn't like exercise, but he'll ride a bike. So I'm like, come on, let's go ride a bike.
Oh, that's so funny. Now, I do want to backtrack a little bit more too and talk about the triathlon.
Mm-hmm.
So I know how the biking went. How was the swimming? I'm just really curious. Is it in a pool that you do laps, or is it a lake, or how do they do the swimming part?
It's a pool. I don't think I'd like to do a river or a lake personally. I know it's in a pool now, but it was a pool, and I would go down to our pool. We belong to a little pool down, in our neighborhood, and I would go every day and work out. And I'm not a swimmer either. That's the funny thing. I've always loved swimming, but I could never get the breathing down. Mm-hmm. The 1, 2, 3, 4, breathe, 1, 2, 3, 4, breathe. And I just couldn't, I would panic or whatever. So I did a lot of side stroke and the breaststroke, which was nice. And I was very embarrassed when I got out because I was pretty much the last one finished, but we were also at the very back of the line to get in the pool because there was, a lot of people. And so we were in the back. So I was very embarrassed. And my friend kind of said, she thought she waited for me when she got done swimming. And then I kind of just ran to the bike because I was just embarrassed, like, oh my God, I'm the last one. So I was embarrassed. But she says, you just ran away from me. But I was like, no, I was just really embarrassed to, like, get out of here, get going.
So funny. I have a friend who is 60. She's probably a little bit over 60 at this point. And she did her first triathlon, and she did it with 2 friends. Mm-hmm. And so basically the way they set it up is that each one of them had something to do. So each one of them didn't have to do all 3 things. So it was like, okay, one of them was doing the swimming, one did the biking, and the other one did the running.
Okay.
And they did not come in first, and they did not come in last, I don't think, but pretty darn close.
Yeah.
But they had a great time.
That's it. You're moving, you're being active. What better way to train for something and, get in shape?
Yeah, no kidding. Well, yeah, and there is a little bit of peer pressure, I would imagine, along with it too, or not necessarily peer pressure, but just the camaraderie and the sense of community and, cheering each other on. That's pretty fun too.
Yeah, it is. It is. And the walking part wasn't bad because I always walk and race walk. So that's, yeah.
So then what happened, because you kind of got sidelined then with a shoulder injury and then had surgery, but you came back from that.
Yeah, I did. That was a couple years later. It was kind of funny. My one friend who really race walks and does marathons and everything a lot, we and our husbands went hiking one day. And the parkours things, do you have those?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I know what they are. I've never done one, but I know what they are.
Well, I did one, and talk about peer pressure. I should never have done this. The kind where you hold your hands behind you and raise your legs up over your head. When I did that, I felt the tear. I felt it. But I did live with it for a couple years. Like I thought, it'll get better. And it didn't get better. And I remember going to the doctor, and he did an x-ray. He's like, yeah, your rotator's, torn. And I can remember saying the big F word in front of him. I was like, yeah. So then I waited another year, about maybe 6 months, a year, but it got too bad. And then I'm like, I had to have the surgery. But you're a physical therapist, so what I couldn't lift my arm behind me forever. And doing that the little bar behind you and lifting up. And I thought, am I ever going to get it back again? But I really did the physical therapy and everything. So it's back. And unfortunately, I'm going to have my left one done at some point, but I'm putting it off as long as I can. It's not really bothering me right now. So,
Well, I have to take my hat off to you and give you kudos, because shoulder rehab is not easy and it is not fun. So you did a great job. Good for you. And is the other shoulder from the same action, or was it something else? Did it just take too much brunt of have to work too hard to compensate for the injured one?
I think that's what happened. I'm not really quite sure, but it didn't happen when the right one happened. I know that for a fact. I think it's just wear and tear of sports and doing things and lifting and, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
I still really admire the fact that you were going to challenge yourself by putting your hands behind your head and lifting your legs up. That is incredibly difficult to do.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I like to work on my core. It's my weakest area, if you will. But I looking back thought I should not have done that. You were just trying to keep up with her. And I'm not like a person that does that. Just because somebody does something, I don't do it. But I thought, I got to do this.
Yeah, but you are a little bit competitive, just a little bit.
Oh, I am competitive. I am. I don't know why, but I have always been competitive.
Nothing to apologize for. It's actually an admirable trait.
I'm not a bad competitor, like a mean competitor, if that makes sense. I just like to, it's for me that I'm competitive against myself. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So when you are not exercising and riding your bike and trying to figure out how to breathe when you're swimming, you are working, and you have got this wonderful business that you built with your son, which I think is such a fantastic, a wonderful idea and a wonderful concept. And even just seeing the pictures of the two of you together, and it looks like you're having so much fun.
We really do. We are redoing a few things now, doing new plans and pathways and stuff. And it's great to have that age difference, I guess, if you will, because he's got ideas and can think things right off the bat now, and I'm just like, wow, that is really good. That's really cool. I mean, it just is fun. It is fun. I enjoy working with him. I'm glad he wants to do it. So, yeah.
So how long has he been on your team? How long have the two of you been working together?
5.5 years now.
Okay.
He graduated from college and couldn't really find a job that wasn't commission based. And I said, Peter, we can do better than that, because you never know with commission what you're going to get.
Right.
And so and he's become a great editor and planner, like project manager, and planning people's, either if it's a book plan, a marketing plan, whatever. And it's fun. Yeah.
Now, what was his degree in?
He started out in music education and transferred to a Bachelor of Arts in Music with a saxophone major. And then he got a minor in psychology.
Okay. So you are a musical family too, along with the exercise and the writing and publishing.
Yes. Yeah.
And I do find it so fascinating that you began studying the violin at the age of 54.
Yes, I did. I've always loved music. And my friend had started the cello a few years before, and then introduced me and another friend to the strings group I was telling you about. And so we took lessons, and it's a lot of fun. Meet people. We actually went to a strings summer camp for a week too, for 2 years. And it was a lot of fun. It really takes you up a level, if you will, because you're playing with people all over the US or wherever, and some of them are really good. Yeah.
Well, and you did not pick the easiest instrument in the world to learn how to play. I mean, I would have gone maybe for a flute.
Well, honestly, I will tell you that I had started thinking about taking some kind of music lesson before this all started. And the flute was on my brain. I'm like, I could do the flute. But then this happened. And so I knew I didn't want to carry a cello around with me. And the viola, it was too low for me. It's a very low instrument. And so I picked the violin because I really have always loved the violin and music from the violin. So That's why I picked it.
That's so funny that you should say that, because I had a client who, of course, then became a friend several years ago, and she played the cello, and she was not a tall person. She was very, very short. And to see her walking around with that thing, because she would carry it into her sessions and stuff, she didn't want to leave it in the car. So she would carry it. And I'm like, that thing is bigger than you are. And she said, oh, I'm used to carrying it around. So I guess you learn how to adapt. But yeah, that thing was pretty big.
Yeah. Yeah, it is big. Yeah.
Back to your business. How do people work with you, or how, do they just contact you out of the blue and say, I'm thinking about writing a book, or do they contact you when they're ready for the editing stages? And what kind of services do you offer through your literary prose? I don't think I'm saying it right. Literary prose?
Your literary prose, yes.
Literary
yes.
prose.
Yeah. Well, what happened is I became a certified author assistant about 6 years ago, because my original business was transforming. It was medical transcription company, and it was transforming into, they weren't doing that much anymore. And I knew I needed to do something. So I liked literature. I took it in college, that kind of thing. So I had an opportunity to become a certified author assistant, and I took the class and certification. So really what we do, we are not a publishing company. We're not a vanity publishing company or a hybrid publishing company. What we do is a certified author assistant. They teach you how to help someone in whatever part of the process they're in. That can be their writing plan if they haven't even started writing yet, or manuscript creation, which includes proofing and editing, onto the publishing stage, which there's 90 some tasks to be completed for self-publishing, and then marketing, which really marketing needs to be done at the beginning or before you even start writing your book. So we help people in whatever stage they're in. Like, people will say, what kind of packages do you have? And we're like, we don't do packages, because it's not a one size fits all. So it's whatever it is you need. And so we can help people. And if we don't do it, like, we don't do cover design, we don't do graphic interior design, but we have people on our team who know how to do that. And they've actually worked in publishing before, so they know how to do those tasks. But we can help. We start with, we'll do a strategy session, like a complimentary strategy session with somebody, and just find out what their needs are, where they're at. And then we'll move on from there into either a planning day, like a VIP day, planning day. And then we can create the entire plan for them. Like, this is what you need to do in order to get published. We can help you with that, or you can do it yourself and, figure it out. Because
there's a lot to figure out.
There is a lot to figure out. Yes. So that's about how people find us. But I had started back in November. I did a 20 tasks to understand, know, and complete before you publish. And we've got that on our YouTube channel.
Oh, nice.
And so just to help educate people, because the most frustrating thing I've found is authors that don't educate themselves or don't know what the process is can really be taken by other publishers or people. And just knowing what you should know, you don't know what you don't know. But like one lady I talked with, we did not help her publish her book or anything. She went to someone else, but she didn't even have an Amazon author page. And I'm thinking, how could you work with somebody as an, helping the author, but not help them with an author page, because that's how they would sell their book. So it's little things like that.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up, especially just mentioning that we don't do packages. So basically you are definitely, customizing a program or whatever it is to that specific client and what they need. And that you mentioned, like the vanity press or the vanity publishing companies. And that almost happened to me. I almost ended up with one of them. And I just got a really funny feeling when I was talking to them on the phone, that intuition, or that hair on the back of my neck was starting to crawl and stand up. And it's like, okay, this is not a good sign. I at least knew to pay attention to my intuition and my instincts. And I ended up, after I talked to this person, thought about it for a couple of days, and I called somebody here in Denver who basically does the same type of services that you provide. And, first thing I asked her was, well, what about your packages? And she says, we do not do packages. And then she explained exactly why. And that's exactly what you said too. So if anybody who's listening that is thinking about writing a book, you really do need to do your homework. So they can get some of this information right off of your website, the things that they might need to know even before they start.
Yes, and we are redoing our website, adding more information. We're going to be having a references page so people can go there and, figure out references they need about, a writing planner, if they want that, a writing calendar, or what the publishing tasks are, that kind of thing. And we're kind of going towards concierge publishing, like if you go to a hotel and you need something, a restaurant or whatever, we kind of think of it as concierge publishing. What do you need?
Yeah. I like the fact too that you're talking about doing the writing plan and how to work that out. And for some reason, I kept thinking of the 300 miles of biking. So at least if you're talking to Colleen and Peter, that they will steer you in the right path of how to have a reasonable writing plan and not have you do 300 miles in 30 days.
That's right. It's their project. They're in charge, really. We just help them along the way.
Yeah. And I also like the fact that you said about the marketing, and you mentioned the marketing even before the project began. And I wish somebody would have done that for me. But of course, I, at the time, was just, kind of on my own. And I found a quote unquote writing coach who was kind of helping me, but she really didn't know a lot about stuff like the marketing. And she went through Vanity Press and that type of thing. And I remember as I was writing my first book and hearing from so many people and hearing from, different organizations online and all that stuff, that when you're writing a book, the real work begins when you're done and you have to market it. And I thought, that can't possibly be true. Nothing could be more work or harder work than writing this puppy. Marketing it ought to be really easy. And I was, what I like to say, wrong, because marketing is a full-time job.
It is. And if you don't market, who's going to buy it? Who's going to know about it? Who's going to be ready to buy it? And really your book, if you could sell it for the rest of your life and even after,
Well, that's good to think about.
Well, your intellectual property lasts, what is it, 70 or 90 years after you pass, and your family can still reap the benefits from it. So
yeah, well, I'll let my sisters know that, because I don't have any children of my own. So I just want them to know that their kids will be set for life on the royalties that I get from my first book, and the second one should be out in the fall. So yeah, I'm sure they won't have to worry about a thing. And that's just sarcasm, but
but it is true. Like, you want to start your fans, as you're writing it, to get them excited.
Yeah, blog posts and things like that, little snippets about what you're doing and what the book is about. Yeah, that's really important things to know and to plan for.
Yeah.
So the other thing I was thinking, as you were talking about your story and your transition and going from the medical transcription into this has got to be more fun.
I do enjoy it. Like I was telling you earlier, I'm finishing up a 500-page book now, which proofing it. But we've had some great clients, and it is nice. But I'll tell you what, the medical transcription I loved it, because I went to nursing school, and it was just, I loved that. But this is a whole different thing, because there's so many different things you can do, and depending on what the author needs, it's not the same thing every day. That makes sense.
It does make sense. And especially if you're working with a first-time author. Of course, I know the roller coaster ride that the author is on, because I was on it, and the stress, but just the fact that you're helping somebody bring their creation, into the world, and have this book that they put so much time and effort into. But when you hold your print book in your hand for the first time, it is just such an amazing experience to be able to say, I did this.
Yeah. I mean, it's wonderful. And we went to one of our authors. Well, we've gone to two of our authors' launches, because they're local here. And it's just really cool to see the people that come and the pride on their face, and just the excitement. And our one author's second children's book's coming out in a couple of weeks, and she's having a launch virtually. And so that's going to be a lot of fun to get that word out for her too. Yeah.
So is
Yeah.
the virtual launch because of the COVID restrictions, or because what I'm finding out now, of course, we had with my friend, with her company, she had several first-time authors that launched a book right in the middle of COVID. And it was like, okay, so now what do you do? This is a terrible time to launch a book. So that's when they came up with the virtual launches and the Facebook party launches, or whatever the heck they are. And when I was talking to my girlfriend just a couple of days ago, and I asked her how they were working out, and she said, well, actually, they're really a lot of fun and they're doing very well. And the authors were doing well, which I thought that was interesting. I wanted to know that because I know how much money I spent on my launch party. It was a lot of money. It was a lot of fun, but it was like, oh God, I don't know if I want to do that again. And the thought of having a virtual launch party where I could reach people nationwide that I know, or maybe who've just, follow me, is pretty enticing and pretty attractive.
Yeah, we're looking forward to helping her with that. And I think it'll be a good thing. But like you said, you can reach so many people. And I'm not sure if you know about this, but have you heard about how authors can really make money and sell their books by doing podcasts, by being guests on podcasts? Have you done that?
I have been a guest on several podcasts fairly recently. And when I do one, it depends on the show that I'm on. But, I will see a bump in sales sometimes, but other times, I don't. But I find it very interesting because here we are on my podcast, and I never promote my own book. And I just don't. I'll probably be talking a lot more about the second one because it is about my experience in the male-dominated, testosterone-infested world of men in martial arts and how I got there in the first place and being the only woman there and stuff. So there's a lot of things that really collaborate in conjunction with the podcast. So I don't know. I have no idea what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's exciting, but I mean, it's always an option for you.
Yeah.
To do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I noticed though, and of course, this is something we couldn't do in the past 12, 13, 14 months. I always sold more books when I got to do like a book fair, or I saw people in person. Once they would talk to me and they would hear my story and hear what the book was about, then I sold books, because the more you can talk to people, the better your book does.
Right, exactly. And just that personal touch again. The personal touch is great. And people are more likely to say, wow, I'm gonna pick that up, or that was really cool to talk to. Yeah.
So you also are really into nutrition. So
Yes.
Did you want to talk about that at all, or?
Well, sure. I mean, like I said, I've dropped about 40 to 50 pounds in the last 10 years, maybe.
Wow.
Slowly, but I have, and about 6 years ago, I started taking Juice Plus, which is an all vegetable, all fruit, no additives, it's pure. And it really helps you get between, I think it's 17 to 26 fruits and vegetables a day in your diet, just by taking the capsules. And what I like about them is it is pure. There's no additives. It's not like a vitamin on the shelf. It's pure fruits and vegetables. And I've been doing that. And I do the protein shakes in the morning. I just believe that, actually, I believe it's helped keep me healthy this past year, if nothing else. We've been lucky and blessed, knock on wood. But I think nutrition is so important, because if we don't have our health and we don't work on our health, how are we going to walk a mile, let alone do a triathlon or play the violin or do whatever we do, run your business? If you don't have your health, you don't have anything. I mean, that sounds weird, but you just need, your health's important. And so I just truly believe in the product. And we have their Tower Garden too, which is a hydroponic system. And so we've had vegetables, herbs and lettuces all winter in our dining room. We put it inside in the winter. And so, yeah, I just think that there's so many products out there that you really have to choose what it is that you want. But I'm all about purity myself, like whole foods, whole nutrition, that type of thing. And if they call it one simple change, if you make one simple change and do something towards your health, you'll be healthier.
And I think what's really important to highlight here is what you said, that you lost about 40 pounds over the past several years.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that you were already either 50 years old or almost 50.
Yeah. Yeah, I was. I probably was. Yeah, I was heavy till Peter graduated, and I was about 50 when he graduated from high school. So, yeah, it's been about that long. And I look back at pictures and think, oh my God, really?
So I think that that is really a testimonial. That's why I wanted to bring it up, because if you were able to do that, to lose the weight, maintain the weight, stay as active as you are, a lot of times once we get to that 50 or even, our late 40s, we feel like we're slowing down, we're putting on weight, and people, especially experts, might tell us that we really don't have any choice. It's just part of the aging process. And I think that my mission, and I think yours is too, is to be able to say, oh, no, that's not true.
Exactly. I am so working towards not being to sit on the couch and do nothing. I want to be active. And I love it too that I've lost weight in this time period, because like you say, that people say, oh, I heard it when I was 30. Oh, after 30, you're not going to be able to lose weight. Well, whatever. And I just have worked hard at it. And like I said, I've always walked, but last year with the, when we are locked down and stuff, I walked at least 4 miles a day. And that's when I took off some of the weight this year.
Oh, wow.
But it just helped my mindset. It helps your mindset to be active and keep moving, because I want to be able to have my balance when I'm 65 and 70 and not fall down and break my hip or something. So I think it's so important to keep active and just move. Find out what you like to do. Dance around your house. If you don't like doing anything else, I love music, and I'll just dance around my house sometimes if I can't get out.
I do that too. And I love doing that because, well, I have a dance background, but I'll even dance for my dogs sometimes. If, something catchy comes on, and I'll just dance with them, and my husband just watches me and just shakes his head. And I'm like, what else am I going to do? It's either that or just sit on my butt and be depressed.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So good for your body, mind, spirit, and soul.
Well, you know what I just finished too, since we're talking about it. If you've heard of the Camino de Santiago over in France, it's Spain. Well, I was going to do that 2 years ago, but something happened and I wasn't able to. So they've got all these virtual races now, or virtual walks and stuff. I just finished doing 480 miles for that. And I didn't do it in any, world breaking time or anything. And now I'm doing the Ring of Kerry in Ireland, because I'm Irish, and we just had St. Patrick's Day. So that's 142 miles. But I did challenge myself on that I want to finish it within 5 weeks. So, yeah.
So I'm really curious about something. Are you recording? And just keeping track of all of this, the things that you're doing, and like a journal or something? I just see this coming out as some sort of a book.
Oh, I have been keeping a journal, and I keep track of my mileage and like what the weather was like. I'll take pictures sometime. I walk with my dog. So a lot of times I'll take a picture of her, like, we just finished, whatever. So I know people have said, you probably have a book in you. And I'm thinking, yeah, I probably do. And I do that for a living, but why don't I?
I think the saying is the shoemaker has no shoes, right?
Yeah.
No, but I think that would be an incredible book and incredibly inspiring especially for a certain age group of women. Those who I can't tell you how many women I met when I had my office still in their 40s that were just going bonkers. It's like, well, this is it. This is, it's not going to get any better than this. It's downhill all the way. And, I'm falling apart. And it's like, oh, do not accept that. Don't, my goal is to punch Father Time in the face and bust the myths of aging and tell the naysayers who want us to sit down and be good little soldiers and, we'll take care of you. Don't you worry about that. To just say, go away, mind your own business.
Yeah. No, I'm hoping, as long, like I said, if we have our health and we stay healthy, we can do whatever.
Well, Colleen, how can people get a hold of you? Where can they find you?
Well, if they want to email me, they could email me at Colleen, that's COLLEEN, at Your Literary Prose, PROSE.com. We get a take on prose there. And we're also on Facebook under Your Literary Prose. And we're on, LinkedIn. You can find me at Colleen Wietmarschen at LinkedIn, and on Instagram at either Colleen Wietmarschen or Your Literary Prose.
Excellent. So do you have any final pearls of wisdom you want to drop on us before we close?
Oh, wow. Well, you can do anything you want to do. Know what your why is, when you have support and you have fun along the way doing it. Take a challenge. If you're not doing anything right now, walk a mile and then add a mile in another week or two and just keep moving and love your body.
Oh, thank you for saying that. That's perfect. Wonderful. Thank you. Love your body. Yep. How many of us don't?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Colleen, thank you so much for being here today. I really, really appreciate it and appreciate your time and so appreciate your energy.
Oh, thank you so much. This was so much fun. Thank you. I enjoyed it.
Excellent. And everybody, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate you. And remember to just keep moving, get outside, take a walk. And the most important thing of all, love your body. I think we ought to get some t-shirts made.
Sounds good.
And that is the way of the Femininja. And that's a wrap on another episode of the Femininja Project. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, be safe, be strong, and until next time, bye now.